This video introduces the FileCruiser administration portal. To log in to the administration portal, 1. Use a computer connected to the same subnet as the FileCruiser and type the system IP address into the address bar of a web browser followed by /admin. The FileCruiser administration portal login menu appears. 2. Use the default username, administrator, and default password to log in. Now the administration portal comes on. Home Directory. Capacity Overview. Capacity Overview is the topmost menu tab in the Home Directory. Scroll down to view the various statuses displayed, including current and historical system-related information, such as capacity and usage statistics. The information is presented using bar graphs, line graphs, and simulated analog gauges. Node Health shows the node status and node names in real time. The green check mark means the machine is powered on and running. The cross mark means the machine is powered off. The question mark means that the machine state is unknown. Concurrent user status is the total connection number of FileCruiser user portal, Windows agent, Mac agent, and Android app in real time. Users. This is the number of users using FileCruiser except the administration portal in real time. Connections include the number of connections to FileCruiser in real time. The current upload and download traffic shows it in real time. Upload traffic. This shows the current upload traffic bytes per second in blue. Download traffic. This shows the current download traffic bytes per second in brown. CPU usage shows the current and historical CPU usage information. Total CPU usage, which is the semicircle scale on the left, shows the current CPU usage percent in real time. CPU usage chart on the right shows the historical CPU usage percent for the past 7 days by nodes. The memory usage shows the current and historical memory usage information. The semicircle scale on the left shows current memory usage percent in real time. The chart on the right shows historical memory usage percent for the past 7 days by nodes. Capacity usage. The capacity usage shows the current and historical capacity usage information. System capacity / used overview is the bar chart which shows system allocated quota in orange and used quota in blue. Domain capacity / used overview is the bar chart that shows allocated quota in orange and used quota in blue by domain. To view different domain capacity overview, select domain from the drop-down list below the domain capacity / used overview title, which shows the physical capacity used. This is a semicircle scale on the left that shows the current physical capacity used percentage in real time. The chart on the right shows historical capacity used for the past 7 days. Domain used capacity. This is the chart that shows historical domain usage in bytes for 7 days. Different colors stand for different domains. OU used capacity is the chart that shows historical OU usage in bytes by domain for 7 days. Different color lines stand for different domains. User used capacity is a chart that shows historical user usage in bytes by domain for 7 days. Different color lines stand for different domains. Concurrent users. On the left-hand side, there's a semicircle scale that shows the current number of online users. A machine node is supposed to support 1,000 users. The chart on the right shows the historical ratios of online users to time, which is calculated in 30-minute segments for 7 days. The concurrent max connections is a chart that shows the historical number of connections on FileCruiser to time, which is calculated in 30-minute segments for 7 days. These menus present a list of used quotas within the selected domain at the OU, team, and personal level. The list is ranked from the highest percentage used to the lowest. Information includes the OU, team, username, the set quota in gigabytes, the amount of the quota used, and the percentage of the quota used. Use the Domain pull-down menu to choose other domains to display here. You can view general status information of FileCruiser. Go to Home, Status to display the following information. Software Update shows the current software version and the last update date. License is the number of users allowed and the expiration date. Backup will show the last backup time, schedule for remote backup, and backup storage IP address. Notification is the mail server IP address and administrator notification level. Settings is the session timeout endpoint, AD server, and LDAP server IP addresses. Download links provides the links for the Windows agent, Mac OS agent, iOS app, and Android app. Domain. The domain menus are used to manage teams and users and to create and manage domains, including adding OUs to the domain. Click on Domain in the top menu directory. Select User List, User Import, or Team Import from the drop-down menu to view the menu. To add a new domain, 1. Click on the globe icon and select Add Domain, and then a new menu appears. 2. In the Add Domain menu, type a domain name, domain quota, and authentication method to create the new domain. There are several actions initiated in the domain tree menu by right-clicking on a domain, OU, or team in the list. Right-click on a domain to edit or delete a domain, add or search for an OU, or search for a team in the domain. The search function is useful when there are several OUs or teams in the domain. To delete a domain, first delete the OU in the domain. To add an OU, click on the right button and type the OU name. As you can see, the OU appears. To add a team, right-click on the domain or OU. Right-click on the OU and add a team. Type the team name, quota, or team owner or team name. User information. To add a new user, 1. Choose the domain or OU the user will be added to in the domain tree menu. Then click on the Add User icon. 2. In the new menu, type in the following user account and alias name. 3. Choose the domain and OU, if any. 4. Enter a password and confirm the password. 5. Enter an email account for the user. 6. Choose Enabled or Disabled for the user status. 7. Enter a quota for the user. 8. If the user will be an administrator, choose the Yes option for administrator. Otherwise, leave the default No option. Click the Submit button to create the new user. The user appears listed in the users list. Device information. The device list presents information about user devices for each domain. Choose the domain to view from the pull-down menu. The information in the device list includes the username, agent used, remote IP address, last login date, and the status for the device. The device list can be used to disable or delete a device. Log information. Use the log menus to search for and list events according to the criteria selected in the search menus. In addition, selected events or event lists can be exported to CSV file or deleted from the list. Choose the menu tab for the type of events to search. The event types are cluster events, administration events, and user events. Cluster events. Click on the Cluster Events menu tab to view the search and menu display options. Search option nodes. Nodes in cluster. Start date. This shows the search logs which happened after the start date. End date. Search logs which happened before the end date. Service. Admin portal. Here you can search the administration portal log. User portal. Search the user portal log. AUTH. Search the login log. File op. Backend service file op log. Notify service. Backend service notify function log. Severity. Error. Non-urgent failures. These should be relayed to developers or administrators. Warn. Warning messages. Info. Normal operational messages. Message. Search log messages for keywords. Export log number. Choose the number of logs which you want to export. Export button. Export logs to CSV file. Search button. Search logs which display the conditions in the table. And 7. Delete button to choose log entries in the table to remove. Administrator events. Click on the Admin Events menu tab to view the search and menu display options. Start date to search logs which happened after the start date. End date to search logs which happened before the end date. Method. All. This is for all administration portal action logs. Post, which records administrators add new settings, login, upload file, etc. Put records the administrator update settings on administration portal. Patch records the administrator's update settings by condition on the administration portal. Delete records the administrator delete settings on the administration portal. Export log number to choose the number of logs which you want to export. Export button exports the logs to CSV file. Search button to search logs according to the conditions and display in the table. Delete button to choose the log entries in the table to remove. User events. This provides the administrator to search a log about user actions on user portal options. Start date to search logs which happened after the start date. End date to search logs which happened before the end date. Username can choose the user action on the user portal. Display order orders the log list by update time. You can do new to old or old to new. Export log number to choose the number of logs to export. Export button will export the logs to CSV file. Search button to search the logs according to the conditions and display in the table. Configuration. Step 1. General. The General menu tab displays information about the cluster in a table format. This is also the menu used to access cluster management menus. Cluster management includes time and date settings, administration and user portal settings, and administrator session timeout and server certificate management. Cluster Manage button. Click the Cluster Manage button and choose the menu to display the settings listed here. Session timeout. This is the idle time allowed for a logged-in administrator before being logged out. Management setting. Time zone to set the region and city. Sync with NTP server for the NTP server IP settings. Administration portal, HTTP. Choose enabled or disabled. Administration portal, HTTPS. Choose enabled or disabled. User portal, HTTP. Choose enabled or disabled. User portal, HTTPS. Choose enabled or disabled. Certificate. Domain certificate, which imports domain-validated certificates. Domain key, which imports domain-validated keys for certificate. Intermediate CA certificate, which imports intermediate CA certificates. General system information displayed in the menu includes time, the date and time, time zone, the city and region settings, session timeout, which shows the current timeout setting, nodes, which shows the number of nodes in the cluster, certificate, which shows the certificate setting status, if applicable, master IP, which shows the IP address of the master node. General cluster information displayed in the table format at the bottom of the menu includes displayed general setting, manage, which node is managing the administration portal, name, which is the name of the node, state, which is the status of the current node, time zone, which shows the city and region setting, NTP, which shows the NTP server IP address, admin HTTP, which shows the administration portal HTTP status, admin HTTPS, which shows the administration portal HTTPS status, user HTTP, which shows the user portal HTTP status, user HTTPS, which shows the user portal HTTPS status, certificate, which shows the certificate status, ACK, which ignores the broken node, retry. If the node connection is broken, click the retry button. Step 2. Identity. The Identity menu is used for configuration of Microsoft AD and LDAP settings for domains that have been created. Add identity. To create new identity settings for a domain, click the icon with the plus above the upper right corner of the identity list. In the new menu, configure the following. Authentication type. Click the radio button to choose the authentication type, LDAP, or Microsoft AD used for the domain. The menu is slightly different for LDAP and AD, so the menu adjusts according to which is chosen. For Microsoft AD, 1. Type in a host name, which is the URL or IP address of the Active Directory server. 2. Type in the username and password of an authorized username for accessing the AD server. 3. Choose the domain name used. 4. Choose the default user status radio button for enabled or disabled. This is the status for any user that are created or a list of users imported. 5. Enter a value for the default user quota. 6. Type in a value for the user quota. This is the maximum amount of physical disk space allowed to be used by a generic FileCruiser user that is applied when users are created or is a list of users imported. Keep in mind that quotas for users can also be configured separately for individual users when adding or editing user accounts. 7. Click the Save button. For LDAP, 1. Type in a host name, username, password, cn/uid, select the domain name, enable or disable, input the default user quota. Step 3. Service Server. Use the Endpoint Configuration menu to create the URL for the user portal. The user portal is where all users of FileCruiser first go to log in and use the system. To create the endpoint configuration, 1. Type in the URL or IP address for the user portal. For FileCruiser systems using LDAP or Microsoft AD, enter the domain name used in the Identity menu. 2. You can test to see if the domain will work by clicking the Test button, or click Save to apply the settings. Step 4. Backup Server. Set up a backup server to backup data via Secure File Transfer Protocol. To configure backup server settings, 1. Enter the backup server URL or IP address in the host entry field. 2. Enter the username and password for the backup server. 3. Enter the port number used for the backup server. 4. Enter the remote directory name for the location on the backup server where the backup will be placed. Step 5. Email server. Set up mail server settings to receive notifications of events. To configure mail server settings, 1. Enter the server URL or IP address in the server entry field. 2. Enter the port number used to email services. 3. Choose whether authentication is needed. If so, enter connection type, authentication username, the username for the email account, authentication password for the email account. 4. Enter the sender name, sender address, and log level used for the emails. 5. Enter the email address used for the notifications. 6. Click on the Save button to save the email settings. 7. Click the Test Settings button to verify that the email server settings are working. Step 6. Role permission. Use this menu to create user roles. You can choose what permissions are used for each role. Create role permission. 1. Enter a name for the role being created. 2. Choose the capabilities allowed for users with the role from the permission list. The permissions are as follows. Write can fix data. Share outside can share data to other members in other domains. Trash, which can empty the trash. Read, which means they can read data. Share inside, which means they can share data to members in the same domain. Or delete, which can delete data, meaning it sends it to the trash. Or manage, which can add team members. You can also add a role with different privileges as well. Step 7. License. Import the license key and check the status of the licenses used. To import the license, 1. Click on the Import License button. A new menu appears. 2. Locate the MD5 key and user password needed to activate the FileCruiser license, and copy and paste the information into the entry fields in the new menu. 3. Click on the Import License File button. This step has been done in the FileCruiser Setup wizard. Step 8. Download. Use this menu to set up the URL used for downloading the different client user agents, including the Windows Agent download link, the Mac OS Agent download link, the iOS Agent download link, the Android Agent download link. Step 9. Policy. Use this to limit format types allowed and restrict file sizes allowed on the server. Click the Save button to enforce the restrictions specified. Restrict size, which means that users cannot upload files larger than the specified limit. Restrict format, which means that users cannot upload files of the format specified. For physical capacity threshold, users cannot go over the limit for the physical capacity threshold. For thin provisioning, you can specify the limit as well or click Check for unlimited. Step 10. Wizard. Wizard takes you back to the FileCruiser GUI wizard by validating its settings. You can select Finish to return back to the administration portal. System. General. The General System menu tab presents an overview of the system status of the server cluster and individual nodes. Use this to reboot or shut down the cluster or a node in the cluster. Shutdown/reboot cluster. To shut down or reboot the server cluster, 1. click to select the cluster in the cluster list. 2. Click on the Restart/Shutdown icon located on the right side of the menu above the machine status table. 3. Choose the Reboot or Shutdown Radio button and click the Apply button. Shutdown/Reboot node. To shut down or reboot a node in the server cluster, 1. Click to select the node in the cluster list. The status for the selected node appears in the machine status table. 2. Click on the Reboot/Shutdown icon located in the machine status table. 3. Choose the Reboot or Shutdown Radio button and click the Apply button. Machine list. Basic information about the server cluster and individual nodes is listed in the table format in the machine status list. Cluster and machine status information is read-only. Manage. The machine which the browser is accessing will be marked. Machine status. This displays the online or offline status. State, which displays the action state of the machine. Name, which is the host name of the machine. Uptime, this is the time since the system booted up. Version, which shows the FileCruiser version of the machine. Notice that the version and build date are also listed separately for each node in the Version menu tab. Action. Shutdown or reboot actions applied to the machine. Ignore. If shutdown fails, you can choose to ignore the failure. Retry, which can be used to retry the shutdown. Config Backup. The Config Backup and Restore menu in the System directory is used to backup configuration settings to a backup server. If you have not yet set up the backup server, go to Configurations, Backup Server, first to enter IP addresses for the backup device. When this is done, use this menu to backup or restore system configuration settings. Backup/restore. To backup configuration settings to the backup server, 1. Go to System, Config Backup. 2. Choose Configuration Backup in the pull-down menu. 3. Click on the Backup button. To restore configuration settings from the backup server, 1. Go to System, Config Backup. 2. Choose Configuration Restore in the pull-down menu. 3. Choose the config file from the list to be used for restoration. Files are listed by the date the backup file was created. 4. Click on the Restore button. 5. After the configuration files are transferred, restart the system, log in again, and check the system configuration. User Data Backup. Use this menu to create schedules for backing up user data to the backup server. If you have not yet set up the backup server, go to Configurations, Backup Server, first to enter IP settings for the backup device. Backups can also be completed manually. After user data has been backed up, use this menu to restore from the backup server. Information listed in the user data backup table includes location, directory, policy, schedule, status, result. Create backup schedule. To create a schedule for regular user data backups to the backup device, click on the Create Backup icon. In the menu that appears, configure the following: location, which is the backup server location; directory, which is the absolute path of backup directory at the backup server; username, the user to access the backup server. This user must have accessibility to the backup directory. Password, which is the password of the given user. Policy, choose the option Full, which is a full backup job option. Incremental, the incremental backup applied to the previous full backup. If there's not a full backup done, the job will do a full backup job automatically. System upgrade. Use the System Upgrade to upgrade the FileCruiser firmware for the FileCruiser VA2600 or VR2600. Get the latest firmware from our Promise website. To upgrade FileCruiser firmware for the FileCruiser VA2600 or VR2600, click on the Upload File button. Locate the upgrade package. Click the Upgrade button to proceed. When the upgrade is finished, the system reboots automatically. Reset System. The Reset System menu is used to reset configuration settings to default values. System reset can be done for a cluster or individual nodes. Warning: perform a system reset for an entire cluster or a standalone system will wipe out all user data in FileCruiser. If there's user data on FileCruiser, make sure to fully backup user data and system configuration to a backup system. Monitor. Use this to monitor cluster health. Data is presented in line graphs for the specified time period. The time period options are 1 week, 1 day, 3 hours, or 30 minutes. Cluster Overview. Use the pull-down menu under Cluster Overview to select the time period to display. The data displayed begins from the time period selected to the present. The cluster data in Monitor includes total CPU utilization, which is a line graph that displays the CPU utilization. Load average, which is a line graph that displays the average loading. Memory used, which is the line graph displaying the memory usage. Node Overview. Use the pull-down menu under Node Overview to select the time period to display. The data displayed begins from the time period selected to the present. The node data in Monitor includes CPU's utility, which is a line graph to display the CPU utilization color-coded for each node. Total CPU utilization, which is a line graph display of total CPU utilization. Load average, which is a line graph that displays the CPU average loading. Memory used, which is the total volume of data received via the network and total volume of data transmitted via the network. This brings us to the end of the video for the FileCruiser Administration Portal. Thank you for watching and listening.